Musnipol y la mar. All because the sea ate the beach. Careyes. Hundreds of meters of sand in all directions. Warmth of talcum powder between our toes, where we dug ourselves up to our necks, played war, climbed on black cliffs, and dove from them. Where we rode the waves, our parents unaware, to where our feet could no longer reach. The sea rocked us. It held us and sustained us. The sea was always there. Hello, my name is Estela González, and I am the author of the novel Arribada, based on coastal towns like Mazatlan. I am part of the González Collard family, a family of storytellers. As my grandparents and my aunts, I grew up in Guadalajara, but my family would spend vacations in Mazatlan often, twice a year, enjoying the dunes, the waves, and the seaside walks, the sight of ships from everywhere, the evening skies ablaze, the blinking lighthouse. My last visit as a youth included a Christmas party at a seaside mansion, a bit like this. There was no better time than Christmas for playing at Padrino Adrian's house. After the hurricanes, the protective slats came off from the Art Deco windows, letting the breeze perfume the drapes, the Manila shawl on the grand piano. The orchestra at Hotel Belmar next door helped us celebrate the water's palpitations, the 12-mile curvature of Careyes Bay. As little kids, we ran in a pack. We rolled on the silken dunes of Playa Careyes, climbed the slopes of Adrian's lawn, talked to the dragons and the peacocks of his topiary trees. Then we walked up the stairs to the terrace. There, we stopped at the balustrade, carved with seashells, dragons, and mermaids. Alonso, my uncle, pointed at the narrate and sang, "Venus is born." The seahorses pull her scallop across the ocean. And the winds blow with her chubby cheeks, keep her hair combed back, I said. A few paces away, the grown-ups made nice with that businessman, Chepo Menard. "Thanks for the lands, buddy," he said once, and everyone's smile froze like in an Encantados game. He said, "Tourism is it, compadre. You gotta hop on board if you don't want to miss the boat." That was a bit of my childhood in Mazatlan's downtown. Then, after a hiatus of decades, I returned in the 90s to find many historic homes turned to rubble, previously expansive beaches thinned to a strip. Many turns in fortune had decimated the center as the city's economic focus turned to sol y playa. Things got so bad that more than one mayor considered demolishing the entire downtown area in the 80s and 70s. For my protagonist, Mariana, the rubble included the beloved home of her padrino where she had played as a child. We stopped at the entrance of Hotel Careyes, and she asked, "Is this how Menard made his millions?" His first millions, but not as many as he would like. He says he never got enough of the resort he wanted, and the others stole his idea and built first. Mariana did not say anything. Papa used to say tourism brought the goods, other things too. We circumvented the building and reached the sea. We sat on a malecón bench under a coconut tree facing the construction site. A tangle of bulldozers, diggers, and cranes sat under the billboards. "Hotel Careyes, the dream at last," said the advertisement. The main structure of the building was complete. 20 stories of wall. On the seaside, rows of arched balconies overlooked the ocean. "Why would the wall on the town side not have windows?" Mariana said. I clicked my tongue. "You think tourists want to look at ayotlecos? They'll surely add some bougainvillea for local color. It's not all bad, Mariana. This project means jobs. It's just the idea of the all-inclusive." I wiggled my fingers like a witch, luring children. "Come on, little tourists." And then I growled, "Down with the drawbridge, guards!" As if they had heard me, the guards at the entrance of the construction site puffed out their chests, repositioned their rifles. A flock of seagulls took flight toward the McDonald's. "So they're building a hotel expansion on the town beach," said Mariana. "Because?" "Prime real estate, downtown, yet on the water. And apparently the price was right. The two women stood up. The younger one took the beautiful one's hand and walked her toward the construction site. The guards leered at first, but lowered their gaze when they recognized them. Luisa led her sister down a pathway between the construction and a ruin. They finally stopped at a broken wall. Luisa blew the dust away to reveal carvings, the Nereids and seahorses of their childhood. Muñeca's eyes darted between the wall and the broken glass. Was she expecting stained glass windows and billowing organza? What she saw were slumping roofs, hanging vines, swallow nests. Sitting on the carved scallop shell at the feet of the Nereid, a kitten gnawed on a lizard's carcass. Mariana's face aged, aged, aged. Incredulity, surprise, outrage. She shouted, "This is not Adrián Landeros's house. His house is next to the Hotel Belmar. That way." She pointed to our neighborhood. I gazed at her and pointed to the construction site. That was Hotel Belmar, right there. Then I pointed to the ruin. This is his house. Her milky lips trembled. But Mazatlecos took it upon themselves to rescue their historic jewels. Now we see the amazing results all around us, like here at the Angela Peralta. Private-public collaborations have turned buildings into spaces where Mazatlecos interact with each other and with tourists. I see the emphasis on locals' quality of life while welcoming tourists as one of the new historic downtown's greatest achievements. My stories spring from the pain of loss, but like Mazatlan, they are full of hope. For me, hope began with a little turtle I saw hatch where I least expected it, not under the full moon, in a protected area, but on a touristic beach, in plain daylight, next to my family. It was a bit like that for my protagonist, Mariana, here an 8-year-old next to her uncle. We came upon a mound of sand as high as our knees. Something squirmed under the surface, producing little avalanches. "Jaivas," we whispered, but this crab was taking too long. We dug and found white shards of something dark and moist and finger-like, glistening in the morning light. Slugs. Wait. A second slug dug itself out, moving with the first. They were part of a larger creature. "A baby turtle!" I picked it up. It hardly covered my palm. I could crush it in my fist. But I struck the carapace. "Un carey," said Alonso, scanning the area. "Hawksbill, so there are still some left." "Where's the mom?" "In the water." "But who's going to take care of the baby?" "The ocean. Come, let's give her a ride." "Your lucky day, little turtle. The hardest is over." "Are there raccoons on the beach?" "The two-legged kind. They sell the eggs at cantinas. The borrachos drink them with tequila and habanero chile. They say their whistle stands up better." "What do they want the whistle to stand up for?" He shrugged. "Come on, let's bring her home." The little turtle pressed toward the water. I turned away, and the turtle turned again toward the sea, as if pulled by a magnet. I sang a lullaby as she crawled on my palm. When she reached the edge of my fingers, she dropped into the air, and I caught her in my other hand, again and again, rocking the baby. "Ya," Alonso sang, "let her go." I knelt and put my hand on the sand, and the turtle crawled off. When she touched the water, she bolted away. We waved goodbye, sang a long farewell, watched the little head emerge, then plunge. My novel is about love, loss, the clash of conservative and liberal views. As an adult, Mariana joins her friend Fernanda's beach conservation and community projects, and they fall in love. Mariana is an upper-class girl, and as is often the case, her family has a very white, very European heritage. Fernanda, on the other hand, is a member of the indigenous Concac of northern Sonora. So you can imagine how Mariana's mother might have reacted when her blonde girl falls in love with another girl, and one from such a different background. Fernanda is a biologist working to protect sea turtles. Set in 1990, the novel tells the story of the international sea turtle hunting ban and how many of the working class people who had done the hunting turned around and started protecting the turtles. They were led by the likes of Fernanda, whom we see here with Mariana after a night's work protecting turtle nests. The full moon bestowed a fantastical glow on the vast beach. Luisa, Fernanda, and I would spend the night monitoring turtles, but little else was routine tonight. To reach this beach, we had flown to Oaxaca City, taken a 14-hour bus ride to Pochutla, then bounced in the bed of a pickup truck over the pothole road to Mazunte. After tonight's work, we would meet with the Cosméticos Naturales de Mazunte Cooperative, finally, like-minded people to compare notes with. Some 20 of us stepped out of trucks in hushed excitement. Everyone wore long sleeves and pants despite the humidity. Some covered their faces with mosquito netting that gave their heads eerie elephant shapes. No perfume or insect repellent on this date, Reina, Fernanda had said. Then she ran up a dune. At the top, she threw her arms open and shouted, "Do you know what Mazunte means? Please lay eggs. It will be an orgy." Indeed, that night, the turtles staged a reproductive fest. By the time we reached the intertidal zone, the widest I had ever seen, the little hookers were busy. "Golfina," I yelled. That's a Mexican colloquialism for turtle. The turtle covered her nest, turned around, and labored toward the water. I was moved. This turtle had come to the place where she was born, a link in a chain of life from the beginning of time. She evaded the poachers and the long-line trawlers. She learned to sleep in decimated sea grasses, to evade plastic bags, and even to diet so she could keep her date with the future. She had just laid 218 eggs, I counted them. Now she was back in the relative safety of the ocean. I took a long view of the beach. On the slope where I stood, some 10 turtles surrounded me. Just beyond were 10 more. Farther still, I saw some 20, then 50. I panned the expanse and saw hundreds. The farthest ones seemed pebbles. My eyes could not make out the end of this beach, the largest I had ever seen. Was the dark playing tricks on me? And then the turtles started to dance. "The turtles are dancing," I shouted. Hundreds of mothers were covering their nests. They tamped the sand with a pendular motion, and it was loud. I held Fernanda, my hands on her shoulder blades. A rumble climbed up my feet, stronger every instant. It surrounded us like an earthquake. She tilted her head and kissed my mouth. The tremors ran up my body, accelerating the pulse in my throat. "You're not afraid of people anymore, Reina?" I shook my head and smiled. Over Fernanda's shoulder, I saw Sargento Gandia sitting atop a dune, some 20 feet away. He hopped to his feet and resumed his patrolling. After our colleagues left, we walked toward the water and took off our shorts and shirts. This time we all wore bathing suits. I had brought snorkeling gear. I pointed toward the wind-carved promontory. "I hear the reef around that point is full of sponges. I bet we'll find musni, huipacalc, that's the hawksbill." I spat into a mask and rubbed it with seawater, offered it to Fernanda. "Ready?" "I'm tired, love." Fernanda yawned as she undid her braid and plopped on her back in the water, arms extending to her sides. Her hair floated straight in all directions, forming a circle like a huge, soft sea urchin. "I just want to float and drift." "Come on, party pooper. What if we find musnipol?" That's the leatherback. Fernanda stretched her limbs. "Okay, let's make it short." The sky was rosy in the east. We coasted the first cove, swung around the point, and passed a coral cemetery where the water was warmer. White coral, no sponges, no fish, no snails. An underwater silence, piles of skeletons, like in a Chernobyl. No bubbles, no pops or snaps, no sand waterfalls. We passed the sickly ruins as quickly as we could and again found cool water and schools of fish in agate, cobalt, mango yellow. Luisa waved at us and swam away. See you on shore. Holding hands, Fernanda and I sought the sponge and anemone forest where Musniquipacal might feed. An octopus slithered on the coral, and Fernanda picked it up. It wrapped its tentacles around her arm and poked her ear and made us laugh underwater. Then he tried to catch our bubbles. When she put him down, she showed me the purple marks of many suction cups. Then everything changed. The sea turned dark, as though a cloud had covered the sun, but the cloud was in the water, and it enveloped us. Then it pulverized. Every tiny section turned toward the sun and became millions of mirrors. It was a school of sardines, a glittering cloud, dense as a net, blanketing us in its nimble progression. I circled Fernanda's waist. Our bodies rubbed gently as we swam with one arm each. Around us, an entourage of shooting stars, eddies upon sparkling eddies, making more smaller eddies, and those more. They were showing us the way. We followed them along the coast. I pulled Fernanda gently along. We slowed down, and the fish did too. Fernanda came to the surface, took her mask off, and yawned, "I can't. I'll see you on shore, love." I took my mask off too. I held her and kissed her like the first time. We stopped moving for a moment and we dipped, kissing underwater. Around us, the fish made a circle of light. Then Fernanda swam away and the silver cloud parted, some going with her. As I went around the point to meet Luisa, the other cloud followed me. In the ocean, we were always together. I found Luisa, and we swam through the river of light. A black and gold moray eel flashed her needle-like teeth, then retreated into her den. And we caught our breath. Between the eel and us rushed Golfina, the turtle. Lost in the dance of silver, the turtle flew, her fins like wings, entangling dainty fish in her turbulence. She browsed the coral, unconcerned with the glittering sea or with us. I came up, "Fernanda, Golfina." I listened for her. I heard the breeze. With her shining entourage, the turtle coasted toward open sea. One stroke of her graceful fins took her farther than many of our kicks. I raised my face above water. The surface was a mirror. I called. We swam. We followed Golfina, and the fish followed us. We looked. Fernanda had to be somewhere. We swam around the boulder into a small valley of sand and grasses surrounded by rocks and coral. There, Luisa squeezed my hand in a spasm and pointed down. The cloud of fish led us to long black strands of seagrass floating from the floor 5 feet below. Luisa dove to reach the source of the caressing strands. The fish parted in whirlpools of light. A scream grew inside me. On the bed of swaying grass, Fernanda rested. Her gaze penetrated my heart. I rushed through the dark waters, ready to wrest my love from the ocean. In my novel, natural and cultural worlds face the risk of disappearing and fight to recover. An example of this is in Mazatlan Historical Center are some lovingly kept facades that are just that. A peek through exquisite windows often reveals empty lots and open sky. Trees have colonized many buildings, just as they did with the Angela Peralta Theater decades ago. Unchecked, their roots break walls and tiles. The tree limbs soar through roofs. But the city is perhaps greener than before, with many gardens bursting beyond the walls that used to keep them secret. I cannot say I'm sad about that. What's more, some ruins enjoy a second life, as enterprising restaurateurs leave them largely untouched and design bars, cafes, and restaurants around the wild vegetation, adding just enough modern furniture and artistic lighting. I have sat at one of those fashionable establishments, admiring windows framed by the roots of an enormous tree, and on the other side, a working kitchen suited for a hobbit, producing a cuisine that fuses Mazatleco with international flavors. Indeed, natural and cultural worlds collide. What should we do? Thank you. Soy Estela González.